Hi, this is your host, April Braincamp on Essentially April, and you're on Beacon of Light Radio. Thanks for joining us tonight. We've got hopefully I feel it's a good topic. We're going to discuss the effects of essential oils on the brain. And what you may want to do is if you've got a notebook, a pen, pencil, you may want to jot down some notes. We're going to be talking about it's really neat how essential oils can work with our bodies and especially with the brain. Some of the topics we'll cover today or tonight are areas around your behavior, your moods, things like depression, anxiety, your stress, also addictions, head injuries, memory and learning, and then just being like hyper impatient or agitated, as well as attention and concentration. So there's a lot of different areas that essential oils can affect when it comes to the brain. And I do want to make this statement. The information provided here is not intended to treat, cure, or heal a disease or illness, nor to replace medical counseling. And please do not discontinue your prescriptions without first consulting with your doctor. So just after I've made that statement, the material we're going to be going over tonight largely comes from a lady named Danielle Daniel, who is a licensed clinical social worker and a doctor of clinical psychology. She's a student researching the effects of aromatic compounds and the effects they have on the brain. And then I've added a lot of different, my own research to some of what she's put together here. So, essential oils and the effects in the brain. What can they do? So they can support healthy brain function. They provide neuroprotective mechanisms and strategies used to protect against neural injury or degeneration in the central nervous system following acute orders. And we're talking about nervous system injury or trauma or things like stroke or as a result of chronic neurodegenerative diseases, things like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, MS, things like that. Then essential oils are able to penetrate the bilipid cellular membrane. And that's 2 layers of membranes that block entry of water and water-soluble material into the cell. There's going to be probably a lot of technical terms here, but I'm going to try and break them down into layman's terms. And I think it's really important to understand the areas affected in the brain and what those areas do. It's really going to kind of help you understand just a little bit about the brain, a little bit about emotions and just all kinds of things. So we may get a little bit technical, and I'm trying to break it down into layman's terms. So another thing that essential oils do is they contain sesquiterpenes, which are able to surpass the blood-brain barrier. And sesquiterpenes are very important. They're very helpful. They delete bad information in cellular memory. So within the cell's memory, it can delete bad information. That means there's maybe damage to the cell. It can delete that and correct it. And the cool thing is that sesquiterpenes are present in almost all essential oils. So they're very helpful in regards to your cellular health. And the other cool thing is that um, essential oils um, are kind of like almost like a lipid, which um, they have the ability to okay, if we think of the structure of a cell, there's the cell membrane, and within the cell membrane is all the contents of the cell. Well, the essential oils are lipids, which means they are made out of the same structure as your cells, which are fats. And the essential oils are actually small enough, and because they are a lipid, they actually can pass through and penetrate that cell membrane and get inside the cell. And that's where they can go in and work on the cellular memory. They can go in there and work on viruses that are contained within the cell membrane. When you go to the doctor, maybe you're sick, they can give you an antibiotic because it works on bacteria which reside outside of the cellular membrane, but the viruses are always within the cellular membrane. So it's really neat that essential oils can pass through that cell membrane, and that makes them especially helpful. And there's a lot of research being done by universities, scientists, and my company works with people all over the world doing this research. And you can find a lot of the studies on PubMed.com. So anyway, what's really important about the ability of essential oils to surpass the blood-brain barrier is that that blood-brain barrier is a protective layer between your brain and the rest of your body. It's a protective barrier so that toxins and different things don't get into your brain. Now, the medical industry has been trying for years to figure out how to pass that blood-brain barrier to get things into the brain area, just because they want to help some issues that are going on, and they haven't been able to do that. But essential oils, not all of them, but there are a handful that can actually pass that blood-brain barrier, and that's where they can be very helpful with inflammation and different things within the brain. Okay, so then I think I talked a little bit about how essential oils can actually inhibit virus and bacteria growth, and they, so what are essential oils? I'm going to go over this very quickly. If you've been a listener to my show, essentially April, you kind of know what essential oils are. But if you aren't, we'll just go quickly over some of the basics. And what is an essential oil? They're an extract from plants. They're made up of hundreds of concentrated natural compounds. Essential oils are 50 to 70 times more powerful than herbs, and they're easily metabolized by the body. So your body works very well. They work well together. Okay, so how do you use these essential oils? There are three ways. There is aromatic application, topical application, and internal application. And a quick note on internal application, you need to do your research and make sure if you're going to use an essential oil internally that it is a pure essential oil, that it's not something you get from the health food store that may have, synthetic chemicals to make it smell better, or even they've been diluted with something else to make it go further. And actually on the bottles itself, they should say that they are formulated for internal or dietary use. Only then should you use them internally. But the ones I'm talking about today, I use doTERRA, and though there are some that are, most of them actually are on the label, you're able to use as internally or as dietary. Okay, so anyway, let's talk about aromatic application. So this is probably the most popular and the most well-known way to use essential oils. So you can diffuse essential oils in the air using a diffuser. You can just simply breathe them from your hands. Put a drop or two in the palm of your hands, rub them together, and inhale deeply, smelling them from your hands or out of the bottle, or maybe a diffuser necklace or such. And the way when you're using the aromatic application, they affect the brain in the following ways. So they will bind to receptors through neural olfactory pathways and influence neurotransmitters in the limbic system. So the limbic system is where it's where emotion involves the entire nervous system, but the limbic system is especially important because it appears to be primarily responsible for our emotional life. And it has a lot to do with the formation of memories. So smell and memories go hand in hand. And if you think about it, maybe you're somewhere and you get a scent of something, and it triggers a memory. It's almost like a flashback. I know there's been times where I've smelled something, and it's brought me back to maybe when something my grandmother wore as a perfume, or some kind of soap she had, and it just brings me right back to there. So it's very strongly tied together. It also, using essential oils aromatically, will increase oxygenation in the limbic system, which stimulates the release of neurotransmitters. And then another thing it does, it influences the amygdala and the limbic system of the brain for emotional trauma release. So if you're trying to actively, work through releasing some emotional trauma, or if, it's wonderful to incorporate essential oils into that process. Okay, so the other way you can use essential oils is topically. You can apply essential oils directly to the skin on the areas of concern. And again, another quick note is that you're going to always want to dilute essential oils with some type of carrier oil or vegetable oil, such as coconut oil or olive oil, or whatever your favorite oil is. And you're going to apply to the pulse points on your neck. So one of them that is really good for the brain is the occipital point at the top of the spine. So if you were to put your hand on the top of your skull, and then moving, and you're going to stay in the middle of your head, and you're going to move down towards the back of your skull, and then all of a sudden it dips in, that area where after it dips in, that's the occipital point. And that's where you would want to apply essential oils, because it's going to be able to go directly to the brain there. And then there are 2 points on the front of your neck when you're trying to check for your pulse. Your carotid artery, you can place the essential oils there. And then another point, a place you can apply essential oils is on the reflex points for the brain. And that is the center of your big toe on the bottom of your foot. So on the bottom of your foot, the very center of your big toe on both toes is the brain center, the reflexology point. So that's another great place you can put them topically. And when you apply essential oils topically, they affect the brain by increasing circulation and oxygenation in the cells. And they also will be able to penetrate tissue to aid in repair. Okay, now there is a third way, and again, internal application. So you can add essential oils to your drink, to your food, within an empty vegetable capsule. Or you can apply sublingually. And sublingually means under the tongue, and this is the fastest way to get it into your body because the blood capillaries are so close to the surface of the tissue under your tongue. And And the essential oil constituents are able to pass directly into the bloodstream. The blood takes the essential oil where it is needed in the body. By doing internal application, you can support intestinal tract health, positively aid digestion. And the thing, when you take these internally, they affect the brain by influencing nutrient absorption for brain health, and they also influence neurotransmitter activity. Now, I think it's, I've given you a lot of just kind of general broad information kind of as an introduction. We're going to take a short break, and when we return, we're going to talk about what we can address using essential oils. So we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Tune in Tuesday evenings at 7 p.m. Pacific Time for The Soul's Edge, nourishing mind, body, and spirit. An hour twice a week dedicated to you. Host Jeanette Dames brings you information, guests, and angels to help you find the best way to nourish your mind, body, and spirit. Healthcare professionals, both traditional and Western, bring you information to keep you up and running. Authors from self-help to famous fiction chat about their inspiration and share it all with you. Local, national, and international speakers help you remember how to fill your spirit with love and peace. And on every show, Jeanette will help you get in touch with your angels. You are invited to call in during the show with your questions for Jeanette or her guests. Tune in every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Pacific Time, right here on Beacon of Light Radio. And visit Jeanette's Facebook page, The Soul's Edge, for updates and highlights of past and upcoming shows.
You're up for a treat, embarking on a journey of love and abundance. Tune in to Universal Treats with intuitive coach and healer Thomas Johansson. Open your mind and heart to reconnect with your divine self and natural birthright. Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, and 8 p.m. Scandinavian Time. Only on Beacon of Light Radio.
Are you seeking a deeper connection with the divine? Do you wish you could receive guidance about your life or healing from a higher source? Jennifer Falah is an experienced angel intuitive, psychic medium, divine healer, published author, and radio show host who offers her services to the public. Move forward in a positive direction with answers from the angels and healing from the divine. Contact Jennifer for a reading today at psychicangelconnection.com or join her group on Facebook at Free Psychic Readings Beacon of Light.
Welcome back to Essentially April. This is April Brandcamp, your host on Beacon of Light Radio. So we're talking tonight about the effects of essential oils on the brain. And we're going to go ahead and dive into some of the things that you can address using essential oils. So one area is symptoms such as being sad, moody, down, just irritable or angry, having low energy, or just having a loss of interest. You're just kind of down in the dumps. So if you're feeling some of those things, what I'm going to do, and this is where you might want a pen and paper, I'm going to talk a little bit about what essential oils you can use. And I'm going to name them in the order of importance or how they will respond to that issue. But I'm also going to talk a little bit about the primary areas of the brain that are affected when you have these symptoms. So, when you're feeling all these kind of sad, down, irritable feelings, they affect the areas of the brain such as the amygdala. And then the amygdala is the integrative center for emotions, emotional behavior, and your motivation, what gives you that motivation. It also affects the basal ganglia, And that plays a role in a number of functions in the brain, including things like involuntary motor control, but also some cognitive functions. There are some connections that play a role in choosing or enabling a number of cognitive, emotional, and executive functions in the brain. And it's also an important, the basal ganglia also plays an important role in memory function. Another area affected by the brain when you have these symptoms is the hippocampus, which is a small organ located within the brain's medial temporal lobe. It forms an important part of the limbic system. Remember, limbic system is your emotions. The region, that helps regulate those emotions. And the hippocampus is associated mainly with memory, and in particular, your long-term memory. And this organ also plays an important role in spatial navigation. Another area affected is the hypothalamus. Hormones from the hypothalamus govern physiological functions such as temperature regulation, your thirst, your hunger, your sleep, your mood, your sex drive, and the release of other hormones within the body. And this area of the brain also houses the pituitary gland as well as some other glands in the body. Then another area of the brain or chemical affected is serotonin. So serotonin that is used inside the brain serotonin that is used within the brain must be produced within the brain. So it is that thought that serotonin can affect mood and social behavior, appetite, digestion, sleep, memory, sexual desire, and function. And it also affects norepinephrine, which is a chemical released from the sympathetic nervous system in response to stress. It is classified as a neurotransmitter, and because the release of norepinephrine affects other organs of the body, it is also referred to as a stress hormone. And then another area affected is dopamine. So in the brain, dopamine functions again as a neurotransmitter, which is a chemical released by neurons, nerve cells to send signals to other nerve cells. But the brain includes several distinct dopamine pathways, one of which plays a major role in that reward motivation behavior. So if those things are affected, you can see why you're having some of these symptoms of, again, being sad, moody, down, irritable, angry, having that low energy, loss of interest in doing anything. There's low motivation. Okay, so here is I'm going to give you some suggested protocols to help with that. And I'm going to list them in order of what's typically most effective to most people. So, number one is frankincense. And you can use frankincense all three ways: aromatically, topically, internally. Frankincense is one of my absolute favorite oils. You can diffuse frankincense. Again, you can apply to and I won't repeat this, but I'm going to say this for this first oil. Apply to the occipital point at the base of the skull, and then you can take one drop sublingually, which is under the tongue, 1 to 2 times a day. And if you're taking that drop under the tongue, I try and tell you, just kind of like you do with homeopathic medicine, just hold it under your tongue for just a little bit and then go ahead and swallow. Okay, now the other oils I'm going to mention, you can use the same exact way. Bergamot. Bergamot is a citrus oil with a very mild scent. It's very nice. You can use bergamot aromatically or topically. Third in order of most effective for most people is lavender. And lavender can be used either aromatically or topically. Next is lemon. Again, this one can be used either aromatically or internally. And internally, you would want to take 3 to 5 drops in maybe in an 8-ounce glass of water, or maybe your favorite tea, or, whatever makes sense to you. And you'd want to do that 3 to 5 times a day. And just in general, all of the citrus oils are wonderful for these symptoms. And you would use those aromatically or topically. And there are a few that you can use internally. And the one thing I want to say about citrus oils, including lemon, is that if you're going to take them internally and put them in a glass, make sure it is made of glass or stainless steel. They will actually break down plastic, so you don't want to be drinking those plastic chemicals. So always use glass or stainless steel. Okay, so that's depression. Okay, next we're going to move on to symptoms such as being nervous, panicky, fearful, having a lot of stress or a lot of tension or restlessness, kind of symptoms that are linked to anxiety. So primary areas of the brain that are affected. I will read these if I've already given you the definition. I won't go back through here, but the amygdala is affected, as well as, let me see if I can find my notes on this one, increased non-adrenergic activity. And what that is, non-adrenergic activity is classified as a neurotransmitter. It's a chemical that is dumped by your adrenal glands into the blood. And because the release of norepinephrine affects other organs of the body, it's also referred to as a stress hormone. So the sympathetic nervous system triggers a response that is commonly referred to as our fight or flight response. So that's, anxiety. It's almost like a panic attack kind of thing going on. Other areas of the brain affected are you will have increased glutamate. And what glutamate is, it's a powerful, excited, okay, this is going to be a hard word for me to say, excitatory neurotransmitter. I don't know why that's hard. That is released by nerve cells in the brain. So it is responsible for sending signals between nerve cells, and under normal conditions plays an important role in learning and memory. But glutamate can actually be damaging to nerve cells and the brain as a whole. Cells activated by glutamate become overexcited. And this overexcitement can lead to effects that can cause cell damage and or death. So for this reason, glutamate is referred to as an excitotoxin when it causes cellular damage. So I don't know if people have heard that term, excitotoxin. It's like it excites the cell to death or damages it. Let's see. Another area is you have increased cortisol, which, that's where the adrenal glands, following signals from the hypothalamus and pituitary gland, it's responsible for the secretion of cortisol. Cortisol is commonly known as the primary stress hormone because it's that flight or fight response thing that goes on when cortisol is dumped into your body. And then the last thing it affects is low GABA levels. And when you develop a GABA deficiency, it can cause negative effects on health, including anxiety and sleep disturbances. Okay, and actually, I want to jump in and give you the oils that will help with these symptoms, but it is time for a short break. So when we come back, we'll go over the suggested protocols. Be back in just a couple minutes.
plagued by nightmares, negative self-talk, depression, anxiety, or even strange occurrences in your home? You may need an energy cleanse healing or house cleanse to clear this from your life. Marcy Howell is a divine healer who can help you remove these negative energies from your body and space, as well as help you communicate with a loved one who has passed to find closure. If you are seeking a fresh start and outlook on life, contact Marcy Howell at divinehealings.co or find her on Facebook.
Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, and so does psychic medium Bob Brown. England's renowned paranormal investigator will explore the world of the unknown with special guests that will thrill and expand your mind. Tune in to Over the Rainbow with host Bob Brown every Wednesday and Friday at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. in the UK, right here on Beacon of Light Radio.
Have you imagined your life being different? Are you conflicted with who and where you are and who you ultimately envision yourself and your life to be? Let Dr. Simone be your guide to finding your symmetrical self. As a doctor and certified life coach, she has transformed the lives of many and is qualified to help you in many aspects of your life. Reach out today. Your new beginning starts now. Dr. Simone is on Sundays and Tuesdays, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern.
Welcome back. This is your host, April Brainkamp of Essentially April. And tonight we're talking about the effects of essential oils on the brain. And we were just talking about symptoms such as being nervous, being panicky, fearful, stressed out, having a lot of tension or restlessness. So what we're going to do is go over some of the oils that can help with that. And we're going to go in the order of importance or typically most effective. So typically the most effective oil is lavender. And using that either aromatically or topically. So you can diffuse it regularly in the evening or during anxious moods. Again, apply them to the pulse points on the front of the neck or on your wrists. Again, that's a great way to use essential oils. Or apply to the heart, especially if you're having some type of panic attack. Then any of your citrus oils, using them aromatically or topically. Diffusing maybe regularly in the morning to get you started out right. Applying to the occipital point, at the back base of your skull. Applying them at the pulse points on your wrists, or again on those brain points on the bottom of your feet, bottom of your big toe. Third is lemon, using that aromatically or internally. Diffusing it, or again, if you're going to take it internally, use it in a glass or a stainless steel cup with, maybe add it to your water or your tea, 3 to 5 drops, 3 to 5 times a day. Then fourth is Melissa. And Melissa actually is a very strong essential oil for moods where you're feeling down or anxious or anything. So Melissa, using that aromatically or topically, exactly how I mentioned with lemon. And then fifth is frankincense. You can use that all 3 ways, aromatically, topically, internally. Again, at this, diffusing it, applying at the occipital point, or taking 1 drop under the tongue 1 to 2 times a day. Another one is rosemary. You can use that aromatically or topically. Diffuse it, apply it to those brain points on the bottom of the feet. And then clary sage. Use that topically. Apply to the brain points on the bottom of the feet. Okay, so we've got, another area that we will talk about here, and that is symptoms of being overwhelmed, irritable, You have an inability to concentrate on anything. You have sleep disturbances. You're just kind of stressed out. So the primary areas of the brain that are affected here are your limbic system, your hypothalamus. You're going to have high levels of corticosteroids. And I'm looking, I think I had some notes on that, but I don't know where I put that. So, but, and you're also at risk for depression when you've got this for a prolonged period of time. So, how do you, what essential oils can you use to help with that? Again, in order of what's typically most effective, lavender being first, using that aromatically or topically. And you can diffuse it. I know a lot of these are similar, but some of them are a little different, so I'm going to quickly go over how to use them for some of these oils. So lavender, diffuse it. Again, apply to the base of the skull, that occipital point. The pulse points on the front of the neck, your carotid arteries, and then on the brain points on the bottom of your feet. Second is frankincense, aromatically, topically, internally. And you can, again, frankincense you can always take under the tongue. Lemon, diffuse it, take it internally by adding it to your water or your tea. Here's a new one. It's Lang Lang, which is Y-L-A-N-G, and then it's Y-L-A-N-G, Lang Lang. You can use that aromatically or topically. Diffuse it, apply it to the base of your skull, pulse points on the front of the neck, on your wrists, again on the brain points on the bottom of the feet. And then, again, citrus oils. Citrus oils in general are just, all of them are very uplifting, so that's why they're mentioned a lot. Diffuse it regularly in the morning. Again, get your day started out right. The base of the brain and the bottom of the feet where your brain points are. Then next is clary sage. Use that aromatically or topically. Diffuse it, base of the brain or the bottom of the feet. Okay, so next we're going to talk about another area that's a little different, and this is kind of centered around addictions. And the types here that this will help is alcohol. It's been known to help with nicotine, drugs, gambling, overeating, and even things like pornography. So it's kind of a broad area, addictions. So the primary brain areas affected are your frontal lobe. Here we go. The frontal lobe is the part of the brain that controls important cognitive skills in humans, such as emotional expression, problem solving, memory, language, judgment, sexual behavior. It is in essence the control panel of our personality and our ability to communicate. It also affects dopamine levels, epinephrine or norepinephrine levels, and also serotonin levels, GABA levels, and glutamate levels. So all of those levels. Suggested protocols. So in the order of how they can help, black pepper is number one, and you use that aromatically. So, and this is well known to help with a smoking addiction. So you can diffuse this regularly to help with smoking addiction, or carry a little bottle of it around and smell it when you need to. Second is the citrus oils. Use them all three ways: aromatically, topically, internally. And you can diffuse orange or grapefruit during withdrawals. Grapefruit, me see if I've got notes on that. I thought I did. Well, I don't think I do. But grapefruit in particular contains limonene, which is very important, and that will help with your withdrawals. So how do you use the citrus oils? You apply it again to the base of the brain, base of the skull, the brain points on the bottoms of your big toes, or take it internally, maybe 3 to 5 drops of that citrus oil in water or tea 3 to 5 times a day again. And then number 3 is doTERRA has a GI cleansing formula that it's just kind of like a wonderful blend of things that will help detox. And I think that's a very important part of when you're trying to address addiction. So the GI cleansing formula would be 1 capsule with meals 1 to 2 times a day for 10 days max. And it's just going to kind of clean out your system and help you detox. And then number 4 is another blend by doTERRA, which has quite a few of the citrus oils, but it's invigorating blend. You can use that aromatically or topically. Diffuse it regularly, apply to the base of the skull and into the pulse points as needed. And then next is clary sage. Use that aromatically, topically. Diffuse it, apply it to the base of the brain, pulse points, bottoms of the big toes. And then last is patchouli, aromatically, topically. Use this exact same way. There are some other oils to try on all these protocols, but I wanted to give you like the top most effective ones for each of these issues. Now, it looks like we're getting really close. We're going to take another break here shortly. So we've got 4 more areas that I want to cover. So I'm going to try and go over them quickly, but what we're going to cover when we come back after break are how to address head injuries, how to help with memory and learning, how to help with just being either hyper or impatient, and then how to help with attention issues or concentration in general. So we will be back in just a couple minutes, so stay tuned. Thank you.
Birds fly, and so does psychic medium Bob Brown. England's renowned paranormal investigator will explore the world of the unknown with special guests that will thrill and expand your mind. Tune in to Over the Rainbow with host Bob Brown every Wednesday and Friday at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, and 8 p.m. in the UK, right here on Beacon of Light.
Divine Enlightenment with Susan Gratz is a show that offers inspiration, guidance, empowering messages, and insight on creating a better life path for you by using divine intervention. With years of experience from her own personal life experiences, combined with the divine guidance, knowledge, and research, she will help guide you on your own life path. Tune in on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on Beacon of Light Radio.
Hi, welcome back to Essentially April. This is your host, April Brainkamp, and I've been throwing a lot of information at you tonight. I'm hoping you can grasp some of it and you're taking notes, but we're talking about the effects of essential oils on the brain. And I've got 4 major sections I want to try and cover in the last 15 minutes, so I'm probably going to modify this a little bit to kind of go over it a little bit more briefly. But next, we're going to talk about, head injury, things like symptoms such as loss of consciousness, head pain, throbbing, shift in mood, or shift in personality, or damage to tissue. And of course, if you've got a serious head injury, you do want to reach out for medical help. But in the meantime, you can use your oils if you have them at home. And if you're like me, and I'm a mom of 3 boys, we have a lot of head injuries that thankfully aren't serious, but they could result in some pretty significant, goose eggs or bleeding, which I'm so glad I have my oils at home because we can actually kind of prevent that stuff. But, okay, so when you've got a head injury, areas affected when you're talking about the brain are neuronal communication, actual cell death, and intracranial hemorrhaging, which is a type of bleeding that occurs inside your skull. So, protocols on this. Number 1 is helichrysum. And helichrysum is an amazing essential oil if you're not familiar with it. But you would use this topically. It will help reduce your bleeding, stop bleeding. You've got some profuse bleeding, it's going to help stop that pretty quickly. And it's also amazing for inflammation. So you would apply 1 drop to the injury site and to the brain points on the bottom of your feet, which again are the center of the big toe on the bottom of your feet. Second, and this is something I always do with my boys, is frankincense. You could use that topically or internally. You would use it for inflammation to help protect your cells, the brain, the cells in your brain, or for pain. You would apply 1 drop to the injury site, again to the brain points on the bottom of your big toes, and you would, or you'll want to take 1 drop under the tongue 1 to 2 times a day. Third is arbor vitae, and you can use that topically. Again, for cell protection, you apply 1 drop to the injury site and again to the bottom of your big toes. And then 4th is a blend by doTERRA called Anti-Aging Blend, and it has some wonderful oils in there, including frankincense and helichrysum and some others. But you would use that one topically for skin and tissue repair. So you would apply 1 drop to the injury site. So I am so glad I have my oils because I live, half an hour from, maybe more than that, from the nearest hospital. So it's really nice to have some of these things, especially with boys in the house. But again, if it's serious, you definitely make a trip to the doctor. Okay, the next area I want to talk about is memory and learning. Things like being forgetful. You have some difficulty remembering details. You have some speech or memory challenges. Difficulty with remembering instructions. So, areas affected in the brain are, acetylcholine, dentate, gyrus, and your hippocampus. And I'm just going to jump into the protocols here. You would want to, again, I'm listing them in order of most effective. You've got rosemary as number 1. And there have been quite a few studies released within the past few years on the effects of rosemary, helping you retain information, and it helps you remember when you're learning. So I homeschool my boys, and I diffuse rosemary a lot of times when we're doing school to help hopefully retain some of that information. And again, if you go to PubMed, you'll be able to look up some of those studies. But rosemary, you would want to use aromatically or topically. Diffuse it or apply to the bottom of your big toes. Frankincense is next. And I know I haven't been mentioning this. Frankincense is one of those essential oils that pass the blood-brain barrier. You can use that all three ways. Diffuse it, apply to the base of the skull, drop it under the tongue. Third, in order of helping, is clary sage. And you can use that aromatically or topically. Diffuse, apply to the base of the skull or the bottom of your big toes. And also the same exact way, using the same exact way, you can use peppermint. Peppermint, using that aromatically or topically. Next is clove. Clove has some very interesting properties to it, including very high antioxidants, just to throw that out there. But clove can be used aromatically or topically. Diffuse it, apply it to the bottom of your big toe. Okay, so doTERRA has this blend called Focus Blend. Amazing. It's one that if I have trouble with my boys focusing, I apply to that occipital point at the base of the skull. And I do that to myself when I feel like maybe I'm a little overwhelmed and I don't know where to begin on something, and I apply that and my focus just really comes in. But it's going to also help with learning, which again is great for when we're doing school. So occipital point, the pulse points on the neck in the front and on the bottom side of your big toes. Okay, what's another thing that's very, very important when it comes to memory and learning is making sure you're getting your omega-3s in. That's your fish oils. You know, find a natural source, and it's so good for brain health and for inflammation in general. And most of us do not get enough omega-3s because we aren't living by some of us are living by the ocean and eating a lot of hopefully fresh fish that doesn't have anything in it that could be harmful, but it's very important to get those omega-3s in. And so those oils will help with memory and learning. All right, we've got another section where I want to talk about where you're hyper, you're impatient, you're agitated, your symptoms, you're hyperactive, you're short-tempered, you're unable to sit still, you have outbursts, you're kind of actually interrupting, you're interrupting others. You're speaking out of turn. And if you think of it, this is for adult, but as a child, this might be called disruptive behaviors. So areas of the brain affected are your frontal lobe, your right parietal lobe, dopamine levels, norepinephrine levels, serotonin, and GABA levels. So your protocols in order of importance, number 1 is Lang Lang. You want to use that aromatically or topically. Diffuse it, apply to the base of the brain, pulse points on the front of the neck or on the wrists or on the bottom of your big toes. Using the exact same way, number 2 is lavender. Lavender, using that as aromatically or topically. Third is cilantro. We haven't talked about that one tonight. Cilantro, you can use it all 3 ways, aromatically, topically, internally. Apply to the brain points on the bottom of the feet, diffuse it, smell it, or add 1 to 2 drops to your food. It's pretty darn strong. That's what the protocol says. I normally dip a toothpick into my bottle and swirl it into my food after it's cooked. Maybe you're doing it fresh, like in a salsa or something, and maybe you would use a little more, but it's again, these are very concentrated. They're essential oils, so you don't need much. I think 1 or 2 drops might be a little much, but that's just my take. Okay, next, so number 4, they list in order of importance, chamomile. So you can use that all 3 ways: aromatically, topically, internally. You can diffuse it, apply it to the occipital point, the base of your brain, on your pulse points, on the front of your neck and your wrists, bottom of your big toes, and you also can take and drop 1 drop of it in warm water or tea. So, your wonderful chamomile tea. Okay, that's that one. I think the last section, which I think we might be good on time here, is in regards to your attention or concentration levels. You've got difficulty being able to focus, or you have a inability to concentrate. You're very easily distracted, or you just have difficulty listening. The primary brain areas affected, or systems, your dopamine levels, norepinephrine, your right parietal lobe, and your frontal lobe are affected. So the protocols are, number 1, Lang-Lang, aromatically or topically. And it's pretty much, I think all of these are almost the same thing that we've talked about, where you put it on your occipital point, pulse points on your neck and wrist, bottom of your big toes, or your diffuse. I think all of these are pretty much similar here. So number 1 is Lang-Lang, aromatically, topically. Number 2 is peppermint, aromatically or topically. Peppermint's really wonderful for attention. That's one that a lot of people will to use with their kids too. Okay, then you've got rosemary. Again, wonderful. Use that aromatically or topically. Clary sage, aromatically or topically. Lavender, aromatically or topically. And a new oil is jasmine, aromatically, topically. And then chamomile, all 3 ways. And then again, that wonderful blend that doTERRA has called Focus Blend, which again is so perfect for attention concentration issues. So it seems like I've gave you a ton of info today, and I felt like I've had to kind of talk a little quickly to get through it all. But the point is that essential oils are very powerful in many ways. They're just so wonderful when it comes to the brain, because there are some oils that can pass that blood-brain barrier, get into where it needs to help lots of different issues. So, hopefully you've taken notes. If you have questions, weren't able to take notes, if you're listening to this maybe at a later time once it's been archived, you need some help, reach out to me. You can reach me at essentiallyapril.com or essentiallyapril.oils, OILS, @gmail.com. And I would be either happy to help you answer questions about essential oils. Maybe you don't have essential oils and would like to get some in your hands. I can help you with that. But in any way I can help, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my information in the chat room. Before I go, I want to check that real quick. Let's say hi to Jeanette. Yes, Jeanette Dames has got a show in about an hour that she'll want to stay tuned for, or tune into Beacon of Light Radio for. I will be here next week. I'm on every Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So thank you for tuning in and listening to Essentially April tonight. I appreciate it, and I hope you all have a wonderful week. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.